Welcome to Fiction Flux, and today we're starting a brand new fanfic. What if Female Deku was the daughter of Zeus? Let's not waste time and begin. The sky roared with thunder the day Izumi Midoriya was born, as if the heavens themselves celebrated her arrival. From the moment she opened her emerald green eyes, she was destined for greatness. Or so her mother, Izumi Midoriya, always said. Yet, as the years passed, Izumi's life was anything but extraordinary. Born into a world of quirks, where nearly everyone had powers, Izumi was among the rare few deemed quirkless. She grew up facing the harsh reality of being powerless in a society that idolized strength. But Izumi never stopped dreaming. Her boundless hope and determination were her greatest strengths, even if the world refused to see it. What no one knew, not even Izumi herself, was that she wasn't truly quirkless. Her heritage was far greater than any quirk. Years earlier, in the divine realms far above the mortal world, Zeus, the king of the gods, watched over humanity with both pride and sorrow. He had broken an unspoken law of the gods when he fell in love with a mortal, Inko. Their union had been brief but full of love, and from it came Izumi. Zeus had sworn to watch over them from afar, but he never intervened in Izumi's life, until the day his hand was forced. Izumi was 14 when her life changed forever. She was walking home from school, clutching her notebook filled with hero analysis, when the skies darkened unnaturally. The air buzzed with static, and the smell of ozone filled her nostrils. Suddenly, a colossal figure of pure electricity appeared before her, his golden eyes locking onto hers. "Child," the figure said, his voice echoing like thunder. "I am Zeus, king of the gods, your father." Izumi froze, her heart pounding. "My father. This is a joke, right?" Zeus knelt before her, his godly form flickering. "I have watched over you all your life. But now, I must do more. The gods are under attack, and my time is at an end. I must pass my power to you, my daughter. You are destined to carry on my legacy." Before Izumi could process his words, a bolt of lightning struck her chest, searing through her body. She screamed as her senses overloaded. Pain gave way to power, and power gave way to clarity. When the storm cleared, Zeus was gone. All that remained was the weight of his power coursing through her veins. The days that followed were a whirlwind. Izumi struggled to control her newfound abilities, summoning storms, wielding lightning, and even flight. But the true burden was the responsibility Zeus left her. She had inherited not just his power, but his mission, to protect humanity and uphold justice. Determined to honor her father's legacy, Izumi enrolled in UA. High, the top hero academy. Her goal was clear: become the greatest hero and rid the world of villains. But she quickly learned that being the daughter of Zeus came with its own set of challenges. At UA, Izumi caught the attention of Momo Yaoyorozu, a brilliant and graceful student with a quirk that allowed her to create objects. Momo admired Izumi's determination and strength, even when Izumi doubted herself. Their friendship blossomed, and soon, deeper feelings emerged. One night, after a particularly grueling training session, Izumi and Momo sat on the roof of the dorms, watching the stars. "You know," Momo said, breaking the silence, "I've always admired how you never give up, no matter how hard things get." Izumi blushed, her heart racing. "I guess, I just want to make my dad proud. He believed in me, even when I didn't believe in myself." Momo placed a hand on Izumi's. "He'd be proud of the person you've become." "I know I am." Their eyes met, and for the first time, Izumi felt something she hadn't felt in years: peace. But peace was fleeting. A villain organization known as the Shadow Titans emerged, seeking to overthrow society and enslave humanity. Their leader, Erebus, was a fallen god who despised Zeus and everything he stood for. Erebus's forces attacked UA, plunging the school into chaos. Izumi led the charge, her lightning illuminating the battlefield. She fought valiantly, but Erebus proved to be her greatest challenge yet. In the final battle, Erebus revealed the truth: Zeus's death wasn't an accident. Erebus had orchestrated it, knowing the power would pass to Izumi. "You were nothing without him," Erebus sneered, his dark aura suffocating. Izumi clenched her fists, tears streaming down her face. "I am everything because of him. He believed in me when no one else did." And I'll prove him right. Summoning all her strength, Izumi unleashed a storm so powerful it shattered the skies. With Momo's support and her father's legacy fueling her resolve, she defeated Erebus, sealing him away forever. As the dust settled, Izumi stood amidst the wreckage, her body battered but her spirit unbroken. Momo ran to her, pulling her into a tight embrace. "You did it," Momo whispered. "No," Izumi said, looking at the sky. "We did it." Together, they vowed to rebuild what was lost and create a world where no one would have to live in fear. Izumi carried her father's legacy not as a burden, but as a beacon of hope. The daughter of Zeus had become a true hero. Months passed after the fall of Erebus, and Izumi Midoriya's name became a symbol of hope across the world. The media dubbed her Stormbringer, a hero whose lightning lit the darkest nights. However, the burden of her legacy grew heavier with every passing day. Villains rose from the shadows, each testing the limits of her power, and Izumi began to question whether she could truly shoulder the weight of her father's name. Despite her doubts, one thing remained constant: Momo Yaoyorozu. She had become Izumi's anchor, her source of strength when the storms inside her grew too fierce to handle. They spent countless nights together, strategizing, training, and sometimes just sitting in silence under the stars. One such night, as they sat by the edge of a cliff overlooking the city, Momo broke the silence. "Do you ever wonder if you're meant to live for yourself, Izumi?" Izumi glanced at her, confused. "What do you mean? You've been carrying so much. Your father's legacy, the expectations of being a hero, have you ever thought about what you want?" Izumi stared at the city lights below, her fingers absent-mindedly sparking with electricity. "I don't know if I have that luxury. People are counting on me, Momo. If I don't fight, who will?" Momo placed a hand over Izumi's, stopping the sparks. "You don't have to do it alone. You have me, and you have your friends. Let us share the burden with you." For a moment, Izumi felt the weight on her shoulders lighten. She turned to Momo, her eyes softening. "Thank you. For everything." Momo smiled. "Always." The peace was short-lived. A new threat loomed on the horizon: Nyx, the primordial goddess of the night. Freed from her ancient prison, Nyx sought to blanket the world in eternal darkness, a direct opposition to Zeus's legacy. Nyx's appearance sent shockwaves through the hero community. Her power was unlike anything anyone had faced before, and even the mightiest heroes fell before her. Izumi knew she was the only one who could stand against the goddess, but the prospect terrified her. "I can barely handle being my father's daughter," Izumi confessed to Momo one night. "How can I face someone who's been around since the dawn of time?" "You don't have to be your father," Momo said firmly. "You're not Zeus. You're Izumi Midoriya, and you've already proven you can do the impossible. You're not just his daughter, you're your own hero." The final confrontation with Nyx was unlike anything Izumi had ever experienced. The sky itself seemed to bleed darkness as the two clashed, lightning and shadows tearing through the heavens. Nyx taunted her relentlessly. "You are but a child playing with a god's power. You will never live up to Zeus's name." But Izumi's resolve burned brighter than ever. "I'm not trying to live up to him. I'm trying to surpass him." With Momo and her friends supporting her from the ground, Izumi pushed herself to her limits and beyond. She summoned the largest storm she had ever created, channeling every ounce of her power into a single strike. The lightning bolt tore through Nyx, dispelling her darkness and sealing her away once more. When the battle ended, Izumi collapsed, her body exhausted but her spirit triumphant. She awoke days later in a hospital bed, Momo by her side. "You scared me," Momo said, her voice trembling. Izumi smiled weakly. "I'm sorry, but I knew you'd be here when I woke up." Momo leaned closer, her eyes glistening with tears. "I'll always be here, Izumi. No matter what." Their bond deepened that day, and for the first time, Izumi allowed herself to think about a future not just as a hero, but as someone deserving of love and happiness. Years later, Izumi stood atop a hill overlooking the city, now a seasoned hero and a symbol of hope for all. By her side was Momo, her partner in every sense of the word. The storms in Izumi's life had shaped her, but they had not defined her. She had become more than the daughter of Zeus. She had become a legend in her own right, A hero who proved that even the greatest burdens could be overcome with hope, love, and the courage to stand tall against the darkness. And as the sun broke through the clouds, Izumi smiled, knowing that no matter what lay ahead, she would face it with the people she loved by her side. Life for Izumi Midoriya had settled into a new rhythm. The city of Musudafu, once plagued by chaos, was now basking in an era of peace. Izumi and Momo had become an unstoppable duo, hailed as two of the greatest heroes of their generation. But peace, Izumi knew, was a fragile thing. One fateful day, as Izumi was patrolling the city, the skies darkened again, not from a storm of her making, but from something far more ominous. The air was heavy with tension as a figure emerged from a swirling portal. His armor gleamed like molten gold, and his presence radiated divine authority. "Izumi Midoriya," he boomed, his voice echoing across the city. "I am Apollo, god of the sun and truth. You have meddled with the balance of power for too long." Izumi narrowed her eyes, lightning crackling at her fingertips. "Meddled? I've been protecting this world. What do you want?" Apollo's gaze was cold and unyielding. "The gods have deemed you unworthy to wield Zeus's power. His legacy was not meant for mortals, and you have upset the natural order. Surrender his power, or face divine judgment." Izumi's heart sank, but she refused to let it show. "I didn't ask for this power, but I won't let anyone take it away, not when I've fought so hard to protect the people I love." Apollo raised his hand, summoning a radiant bow. "Then you leave me no choice." The battle between Izumi and Apollo was unlike anything the city had ever seen. His divine arrows rained down like fiery comets, forcing Izumi to dodge and counter with her lightning. Their clash tore through the skyline, each strike shaking the earth. Momo, watching from the hero headquarters, knew she couldn't stay on the sidelines. Gathering a team of heroes, she raced to Izumi's side. "Izumi," Momo shouted as she arrived, using her creation quirk to craft barriers and weapons. "You don't have to do this alone." Izumi, bloodied but unbroken, glanced at Momo and smiled. "I knew you'd come." Together, they turned the tide of the battle. While Izumi kept Apollo occupied, Momo used her intellect to analyze his fighting style, exploiting the weaknesses in his attacks. The teamwork between them was seamless, their bond stronger than ever. As the fight dragged on, Apollo hesitated. "You fight with the strength of a god," he admitted, lowering his bow. "But it is not strength alone that makes you worthy. It is your resolve, your heart." Izumi stood tall, her chest heaving. "I don't care about being worthy in the eyes of the gods. I care about protecting the people who can't protect themselves. If that makes me unworthy to you, so be it." Apollo studied her for a moment before nodding. "Perhaps I was wrong. You have proven yourself, not as Zeus's daughter, but as a hero in your own right. I will report to the gods that you are to be left in peace." With that, he vanished, the skies clearing in his wake. In the days that followed, life returned to normal, at least, as normal as it could be for Izumi. She and Momo continued their work as heroes, but their experiences had brought them even closer. One evening, as they sat together on the balcony of their shared apartment, Momo broke the silence. "You know, there's something poetic about all of this." Izumi raised an eyebrow. "What do you mean? You've spent so much time worrying about living up to your father's legacy. But now, you've created a legacy of your own. One that's yours and yours alone." Izumi smiled, leaning her head against Momo's shoulder. "I couldn't have done it without you." Momo turned to her, their faces inches apart. "And I wouldn't want to be anywhere else." Their lips met, a soft, lingering kiss under the moonlight. For the first time in years, Izumi felt truly at peace. The years went by, and Izumi's legend grew. She and Momo became symbols of hope and love, their partnership inspiring generations of heroes to come. But Izumi never forgot the lessons she'd learned, that power was not what defined her, but the choices she made with it. And as she stood atop a hill one quiet evening, watching the storm clouds roll in, she smiled. The storms would always come, but now, she faced them not as Zeus's daughter, but as Izumi Midoriya, the hero who turned the impossible into reality. With Momo by her side, there was nothing she couldn't overcome. Together, they were unstoppable. Together, they were home. The peace that followed Apollo's retreat was both a blessing and a curse. For years, Izumi and Momo thrived as heroes, building their legacy and inspiring hope. Yet, deep down, Izumi couldn't shake the feeling that something greater was still waiting for her, a storm on the horizon she couldn't yet see. It began with whispers. Rumors of ancient relics scattered across the world, imbued with the power of the primordial gods, beings even older and more powerful than Zeus himself. These relics, if brought together, could awaken chaos, the entity said to have birthed the universe. One night, as Izumi and Momo returned to their apartment after a mission, they found a mysterious visitor waiting for them. A cloaked figure, his face obscured by shadows, stood by their window. Izumi Midoriya, the figure said, his voice low and gravelly. You carry the power of Zeus, but that alone won't be enough for what's coming. Izumi stepped forward, lightning sparking in her hand. Who are you, and what do you want? The man removed his hood, revealing a scarred but familiar face. My name is Prometheus. I was the one who gave fire to humanity, and I've come to warn you. Chaos is stirring. Momo frowned, stepping beside Izumi. Chaos. That's just a myth. Prometheus shook his head. Myths often carry truths, and this one is no exception. Prometheus's scarred face hardened, his voice laced with urgency. Chaos, the primordial entity, is the source of all creation and destruction. Zeus and the other gods sealed it away eons ago, but the seal is weakening. Villains, desperate for power, are hunting the relics needed to awaken it. If they succeed, it will mean the end of everything. Izumi exchanged a glance with Momo, her expression grim. Why are you telling me this? If chaos is so dangerous, shouldn't the gods deal with it? Prometheus chuckled bitterly. The gods are cowards, content to hide in their realms while mortals face the consequences of their mistakes. But you, daughter of Zeus, you have the power to stop this. The relics must be found and destroyed before they fall into the wrong hands. Izumi's fists clenched, sparks dancing across her knuckles. Where do we start? Prometheus reached into his cloak, pulling out an ancient map etched with glowing runes. This will guide you to the first relic, the heart of Tartarus. But beware, others are searching for it, and they won't hesitate to kill to get it. Momo stepped forward, her voice firm. She's not doing this alone. I'm coming with her. Prometheus nodded. You'll need all the help you can get. But know this, the closer you get to the relics, the more chaos will awaken. Its influence will test you, twist your mind, and prey on your fears. Stay strong, or you'll lose yourself. The journey began the very next day. Armed with the map and their unwavering resolve, Izumi and Momo set out to find the relics. Their first destination was the volcanic island of Tartaria, said to be the resting place of the heart of Tartarus. The journey was perilous. The island was guarded by monstrous creatures born of chaos, their forms grotesque and ever-shifting. As they fought their way through, Izumi felt the strain of her divine power. Each battle pushed her closer to her limits, and she could feel chaos's whispers gnawing at the edges of her mind. You're not enough, a voice hissed in her head during a particularly brutal fight. Zeus made a mistake choosing you. Izumi. Momo's voice snapped her out of it. She turned to see her partner fending off a massive, serpent-like beast. Without hesitation, Izumi unleashed a torrent of lightning, obliterating the creature. As the dust settled, Momo placed a hand on her shoulder. Are you okay? You seemed distracted. Izumi forced a smile. I'm fine. Let's keep moving. But Momo wasn't convinced. She could see the cracks forming in Izumi's usually unshakable resolve, and it worried her. At the heart of the island, they found the relic, a pulsating crystal encased in molten rock. But they weren't alone. Standing before the crystal was a figure draped in black armor, his eyes glowing with an unnatural red light. So, the daughter of Zeus finally arrives, the figure sneered. You're too late. The heart of Tartarus belongs to me now. Who are you? Izumi demanded, lightning crackling in her hands. I am Erebus, the man said, stepping forward. The true heir to chaos. And with this relic, I will reshape the world in its image. Izumi lunged at him, but Erebus was faster. Wielding dark energy, he countered her attacks with ease, forcing her on the defensive. Momo joined the fight, using her quirk to create weapons and barriers, but Erebus was relentless. His power seemed limitless, and for every blow they landed, he struck back twice as hard. "You can't stop me," Erebus taunted. "You're just a mortal pretending to be a god." "I'm more than that," Izumi shouted, summoning a massive bolt of lightning that struck the heart of Tartarus. The relic shattered, its energy dispersing in a blinding explosion. Erebus screamed in rage as the power he sought slipped from his grasp. "This isn't over," he snarled before retreating into the shadows. With the first relic destroyed, Izumi and Momo returned to their base, exhausted but victorious. Prometheus was waiting for them, his expression grave. "You've done well," he said, "but this is only the beginning. Erebus won't stop until he has the remaining relics. And the more you destroy, the more chaos will fight back." Izumi nodded, her determination renewed. "Then we'll destroy them all, no matter what it takes." Momo took her hand, giving it a reassuring squeeze. "We'll face it together. Whatever comes next, we'll get through it." Prometheus smiled faintly. "You two might just have a chance. But be careful, love is a powerful thing, and chaos will use it against you." As they prepared for their next journey, Izumi couldn't help but wonder, could they really stop chaos? Or was she leading the people she loved into a battle they couldn't win? One thing was certain, the storms ahead would be fiercer than ever. But with Momo by her side, Izumi was ready to face them. Together, they would fight for a future worth protecting. The battle against Erebus and chaos continued, growing fiercer with each passing day. The next relic they sought, the crown of Elysium, was said to lie in the ruins of an ancient temple hidden deep in the Amazon rainforest. Unlike the heart of Tartarus, this relic was tied to creation rather than destruction, and Prometheus believed it could be used to counter chaos's influence. Izumi, Momo, and a small team of trusted heroes embarked on the journey, venturing through dense jungle terrain filled with natural and unnatural dangers. As they approached the temple, the whispers of chaos grew louder in Izumi's mind, taunting her with her fears and insecurities. Inside the temple, the air was thick with an unnatural energy. The walls were covered in ancient carvings depicting battles between the gods and chaos, and at the center of the chamber sat the crown of Elysium, glowing with a golden light. But standing before the relic was a familiar figure. Erebus had beaten them there, his dark energy warping the temple around him. "So predictable," he sneered. "Did you really think I wouldn't anticipate your every move?" Izumi stepped forward, her eyes blazing with determination. "You won't win, Erebus. Not while I'm still standing." Erebus laughed, his voice echoing through the chamber. "You don't understand, do you? Chaos is inevitable. No matter how many relics you destroy, its influence will only grow stronger. You're fighting a losing battle." "Maybe," Izumi said, her voice steady. "But I'll fight anyway, because that's what it means to be a hero." The battle that followed was their most brutal yet. Erebus's power had grown, and he wielded the dark energy of chaos with terrifying precision. Izumi and Momo fought side by side, their teamwork flawless, but Erebus seemed invincible. At one point, Erebus struck Izumi with a devastating blow, sending her crashing into a wall. As she struggled to stand, the whispers in her mind grew deafening. "You're not strong enough," the voice hissed. "You'll fail, and everyone you love will pay the price." But then, she heard another voice, a familiar, steady voice that drowned out the whispers. "Izumi," Momo said, her hand on Izumi's shoulder. "You're not alone. We can do this together." Izumi looked into Momo's eyes and found strength she didn't know she had. With a fierce cry, she unleashed a surge of lightning that shattered Erebus's defenses. "Now, Momo," Izumi shouted. Momo used her quirk to create a weapon strong enough to destroy the crown of Elysium. With a single strike, the relic shattered, releasing a wave of golden energy that forced Erebus to retreat once more. As the temple began to collapse, the team barely escaped with their lives. Outside, Izumi collapsed to her knees, exhaustion overtaking her. Momo knelt beside her, wrapping her arms around her. "You did it," Momo whispered. "We did it," Izumi corrected, leaning into her embrace. Back at their base, Prometheus greeted them with a mix of relief and concern. "You've done well, but Erebus grows stronger with each relic destroyed. Chaos is feeding on your actions, and the final battle is drawing near." Izumi nodded, her resolve unwavering. "Then we'll be ready." Prometheus hesitated before speaking again. There's something you need to know. The final relic, the Key of Eons, lies in the ruins of Olympus. And its power is unlike anything you've faced before. If you destroy it, chaos will awaken fully, but it's the only way to seal it permanently. Izumi's heart sank. So no matter what we do, chaos will awaken. Yes, Prometheus said grimly. But if you can withstand its power long enough, you may be able to seal it away for good. That will require a sacrifice, a piece of your soul. Momo stepped forward, her voice firm. Then we'll find another way. There's always another way. Prometheus looked at her with a sad smile. I hope you're right. As they prepared for the final battle, Izumi and Momo spent one quiet night together, sitting under the stars. Do you think we'll make it? Izumi asked softly. Momo reached out, taking her hand. I don't know. But whatever happens, we'll face it together. You're not just fighting for the world, Izumi. You're fighting for us, for the future we want to build. Izumi leaned her head against Momo's shoulder, drawing strength from her presence. I don't deserve you. Momo smiled, pressing a kiss to her temple. You deserve everything, Izumi. And I'll always be here to remind you of that. With the world hanging in the balance, Izumi and Momo led their team to the ruins of Olympus. The journey was perilous, and chaos's influence grew stronger with every step. But together, they pressed on, determined to end the cycle of destruction once and for all. As they stood before the Key of Eons, its power radiating like a sun, Erebus appeared one final time, now fully consumed by chaos. The battle that followed was apocalyptic, a clash of titans that shook the very foundations of the earth. But in the end, it was love and hope that prevailed. With Momo by her side, Izumi channeled the full power of Zeus and her own will, sealing chaos away forever at the cost of a piece of her own soul. The world was saved, but Izumi was forever changed. Though she had sacrificed part of herself, she had gained something even greater, a future worth fighting for. And as she and Momo stood together atop the ruins of Olympus, the wind carrying away the last remnants of chaos, Izumi smiled. The storms had passed, and the sun was finally shining. Together, they had forged a new legacy, one that would inspire generations to come. In the weeks that followed the final battle, the world began to heal. The threat of chaos had been vanquished, and the scars left behind, both physical and emotional, slowly started to fade. Izumi and Momo returned to Musutafu as heroes not just of Japan, but of the entire world. Statues were erected in their honor, and their names became synonymous with hope and resilience. But for Izumi, the cost of their victory lingered. Late one night, as Izumi sat alone on the balcony of their apartment, she stared up at the stars. Her lightning powers still crackled faintly around her fingertips, but something felt different. The piece of her soul she had sacrificed left a hollow ache in her chest, a reminder of what she had given up to seal chaos. Momo stepped outside, wrapped in a blanket. She placed a cup of tea in Izumi's hands and sat beside her. You've been quiet since we got back, Momo said softly. Izumi sighed, staring into her tea. It's hard to explain. I feel lighter, but not in a good way. Like part of me is missing. Momo reached out, brushing a strand of hair from Izumi's face. You gave so much to save the world. It's okay to feel that way. But you're still here, Izumi. And you're not alone. Izumi turned to her, tears glistening in her eyes. What if I'm not the same anymore? What if I can't keep being the hero people need me to be? Momo cupped her face, her gaze steady and unwavering. You've already been the hero the world needed. Now, it's time to be the person you need. And whatever that looks like, I'll be here. Always. Izumi leaned into Momo's touch, a small smile breaking through her tears. What did I do to deserve you? You kept fighting, Momo said, pressing a kiss to her forehead. Even when it felt impossible. As the days turned into months, Izumi and Momo began to rebuild their lives. They took on fewer missions, focusing instead on training the next generation of heroes. Their story became a legend, a tale told in classrooms and among aspiring heroes who dreamed of following in their footsteps. But their lives weren't just about hero work anymore. They made time for the little things, quiet mornings with tea, late-night conversations under the stars, and moments of laughter that reminded them of why they had fought so hard in the first place. One day, as they walked through a park hand in hand, Momo paused. "I've been thinking about something," she said. "Yeah?" Izumi asked, tilting her head. Momo smiled. "What if we started a school? A place where we could teach future heroes not just how to fight, but how to lead with compassion and resilience. The world doesn't just need strong heroes, it needs heroes with hearts like yours." Izumi's eyes lit up. "A school, that's a beautiful idea. We could call it the Olympus Academy." Momo laughed softly. "Fitting, considering everything we've been through." Izumi squeezed her hand. "Let's do it. Let's build something that lasts." The Olympus Academy became a beacon of hope, attracting students from all over the world. Izumi and Momo poured their hearts into their work, creating a legacy that would endure for generations. Years later, as they stood at the academy's entrance, watching their students train on the sprawling grounds, Izumi turned to Momo. "We've come a long way, haven't we?" Izumi said, her voice filled with quiet wonder. Momo smiled, slipping her arm around Izumi's waist. "We have. And I wouldn't change a single moment of it." As the sun set, casting a golden glow over the academy, Izumi felt a sense of peace she hadn't known in years. The storms of her past had shaped her, but they no longer defined her. Together, she and Momo had built a future worth fighting for, a future filled with hope, love, and endless possibilities. And for the first time, Izumi knew without a doubt that they were exactly where they were meant to be. The legacy of the daughter of Zeus would live on, not in her power, but in the lives she had touched and the world she had helped create. Years passed, and the Olympus Academy flourished. The halls were filled with laughter, determination, and the kind of hope that Izumi and Momo had fought so hard to protect. Graduates of the academy became some of the world's most influential heroes, spreading the lessons of courage, compassion, and unity that Izumi and Momo had taught them. But life for Izumi and Momo wasn't just about the academy. They had built a home together, a sanctuary where they could simply be themselves, away from the weight of their responsibilities. One quiet evening, as the two of them sat on the porch of their home overlooking the academy, a student came running up the path. It was Haruto, a first year with a quirk that allowed him to manipulate wind currents, a boy with boundless energy and a heart as big as his dreams. "Ms. Midoriya, Ms. Yaoyorozu," Haruto called out, breathless but grinning. "You have to come see this. It's amazing." Izumi smiled, standing up and stretching. "What's got you so excited, Haruto?" "It's the meteor shower," Haruto said, practically bouncing with excitement. "Everyone's gathering on the field to watch. You can see it so clearly tonight." Momo stood, taking Izumi's hand. "We can't miss that, can we?" Izumi laughed softly. "Guess not. Lead the way, Haruto." The field was alive with the chatter and laughter of students and staff, all staring up at the night sky as streaks of light danced across the heavens. Izumi and Momo sat together on the grass, surrounded by their students, their hands intertwined. As the meteors streaked overhead, Izumi leaned closer to Momo. "You know, I think this is what Zeus always wanted for me. Not power or glory, but a life like this, filled with people worth fighting for." Momo rested her head on Izumi's shoulder. "He'd be proud of you, Izumi. And so am I." Izumi smiled, her heart full. "I couldn't have done any of this without you, Momo. You're my light, even when the storms felt endless." "And you're mine," Momo said softly. As the years turned into decades, Izumi and Momo's love only deepened. They watched countless students grow into heroes, each carrying a piece of their legacy out into the world. The Olympus Academy became a symbol of hope, and the story of the daughter of Zeus and her beloved was passed down through generations as a tale of courage, sacrifice, and unwavering love. One day, long after their hair had turned silver and their battles had become memories, Izumi and Momo sat together on the same porch where they had spent so many evenings. The academy was thriving under the leadership of their former students, and the world they had fought to protect was brighter than ever. As the sun dipped below the horizon, painting the sky in hues of gold and crimson, Izumi reached for Momo's hand. "We did it," Izumi said softly. Momo smiled, her eyes sparkling with warmth. "Yes, we did. And as the stars began to appear, they sat together in peaceful silence, their hands clasped, their hearts full, and their legacy eternal. The storms of the past were long gone, but their love and the hope they had inspired would shine forever, like the stars that lit up the night sky. As the years passed, Izumi and Momo became revered as legends not just within the Olympus Academy but across the world. Heroes and civilians alike sought their wisdom, inspired by their strength and love. Though their battles had ended, their impact rippled across generations. One evening, while sitting in the Academy's memorial garden, a tranquil space dedicated to those who had sacrificed for the greater good, Momo looked over at Izumi, her silver hair glowing softly in the twilight. "You know," Momo said, her voice gentle, "we've lived through so much, more than most ever will. Do you think we've done enough?" Izumi smiled faintly, her emerald green eyes reflecting the golden light of the setting sun. "More than enough. But life isn't about reaching some final point where we can say we've done everything. It's about what we leave behind." Momo's hand found Izumi's, their fingers lacing together. "Then we've left behind something beautiful. Not just in the Academy, but in the people we've touched." Izumi nodded. "And in each other." That night, the Academy held a celebration marking its 50th anniversary. Alumni from decades past returned, each eager to thank the women who had shaped their lives. There were stories shared, laughter echoing in the halls, and moments of quiet reflection as everyone paid homage to the sacrifices that had paved the way for the future. Izumi and Momo sat at the center of it all, surrounded by the lives they had touched. Haruto, now a seasoned hero and one of the Academy's head instructors, approached them with a glass of sparkling cider in hand. "To the greatest mentors and heroes we could ever ask for," Haruto said, raising his glass. "You've shown us what it means to fight for what's right and to love with all our hearts. Here's to you, Izumi and Momo." The room erupted into cheers and applause, and as Izumi looked around, she felt an overwhelming sense of pride and gratitude. In the years that followed, Izumi and Momo continued to guide the Academy, though they began to spend more time focusing on each other and the quiet joys of life. They traveled to places they had once only dreamed of visiting, walked hand in hand along moonlit beaches, and sat by roaring fires recounting tales of their youth. One day, as they stood on a cliff overlooking the Academy, the wind playing with their hair, Izumi turned to Momo. "If this is the last chapter of our story, I wouldn't change a thing." Momo smiled, her eyes soft with love. "It's not the end, Izumi. It's just a new beginning, another story we'll write together." Eventually, the time came when they decided to step down from their roles at the Academy, passing the torch to Haruto and a new generation of leaders. Their departure was met with tearful goodbyes and heartfelt tributes, but Izumi and Momo knew it was time. They retired to a quiet cottage near the mountains, where the days were filled with peace and the nights with starlit skies. Even in their quiet life, they remained symbols of hope, occasionally mentoring young heroes who sought them out for guidance. One crisp autumn evening, as the leaves turned shades of amber and crimson, Izumi and Momo sat together on their porch. Izumi's gaze lingered on the horizon, her hand resting over Momo's. "Momo," Izumi began, her voice soft yet steady, "do you think they'll remember us?" Momo chuckled warmly, her eyes crinkling at the corners. "How could they forget? You're the daughter of Zeus, the hero who defied chaos itself. But more than that, you're someone who inspired others to believe in themselves." Izumi looked at her, a faint smile playing on her lips. "And you're the one who made me believe I could be more than I ever thought possible." Together, we're unforgettable. As the sun dipped below the mountains, painting the sky in hues of gold and purple, the two sat in silence, their hearts content. The storms that had once defined their lives were long gone, replaced by the calm of a life well lived and love that had endured every trial. And as the first stars began to twinkle in the night sky, Izumi and Momo closed their eyes, their hands still entwined, their story complete but their legacy eternal. Together, they had created a world filled with hope, love, and endless possibilities, a world where their light would shine forever. Decades passed, but the world that Izumi and Momo had built continued to thrive, a testament to their unwavering strength, love, and vision. The Olympus Academy was no longer just a place of learning for heroes, it had become a beacon of unity, attracting students from all walks of life, each determined to leave their mark on the world. The stories of Izumi and Momo's adventures were passed down through the ages, becoming legends that inspired countless generations. Their names were etched in history, but their legacy went beyond the statues and plaques. It was in every life they had touched, in every hero they had helped shape, and in the hearts of those who knew what it meant to truly fight for something greater than themselves. One quiet evening, as the golden light of the setting sun bathed the academy in warmth, a young student approached the now elderly Izumi and Momo, who had long since retired from their teaching duties. This student, a bright-eyed girl with fiery determination, reminded them so much of the younger Izumi. She held a notebook tightly in her hands, a stack of papers already scribbled with thoughts, ideas, and questions. "Excuse me, Ms. Midoriya, Ms. Yaoyorozu," the girl said, her voice full of awe. "I've been reading about your story. I want to be like you, someone who can protect the world, who can inspire others. Do you have any advice for me?" Izumi smiled softly, her once fiery hair now streaked with silver, but the warmth in her eyes never faded. "You already have the heart of a hero," she said gently. "But remember, it's not just about power. It's about the people you protect, the choices you make, and the love that drives you forward. You have to be true to yourself, even when the world asks you to be something else." Momo, seated beside Izumi, added with a soft chuckle, "And don't forget to trust those who stand by you. There's nothing more powerful than having people who believe in you, especially when things get tough." The young girl nodded, a spark of understanding in her eyes. "Thank you," she whispered, before running off to join her friends, eager to apply the wisdom she had just received. Izumi and Momo watched her go, their hearts full. They had passed down all they could, knowledge, wisdom, love, and now the next generation would carry the torch. As the years wore on, the two grew older, their once tough bodies now bearing the marks of time. Yet, in the quiet moments, when the world slowed down, they still found joy in each other's company, in the peace they had built. One day, as they sat beneath the great tree on the academy grounds, the very tree that had been planted in their honor on their first anniversary, Izumi turned to Momo. "Momo," she said softly, her voice steady but tinged with the wisdom of a life well lived, "do you ever wonder what comes after all this?" Momo smiled, her gaze thoughtful. "I think, we've already lived our after, Izumi. Every day we've spent together, every life we've touched, that's our legacy. Our after is here, in this moment, in what we've built." Izumi took Momo's hand in hers, her fingers trembling ever so slightly as she felt the weight of time passing. "I'm glad we did it together. All of it. There's no one I'd rather have by my side through it all." Momo squeezed her hand gently, a soft smile on her lips. "And there's no one I'd rather have beside me either." The two sat in comfortable silence, listening to the rustling of the leaves above them. The world around them had changed so much, and yet some things remained constant, like the deep bond they shared, a love that had withstood every trial, every challenge, and every storm. As the years grew shorter and the end of their journey neared, Izumi and Momo knew one thing with certainty: they had lived lives full of purpose. They had given everything for the future, and in the process, they had created a world that would carry their ideals far beyond their time. One peaceful afternoon, as the sun dipped low in the sky, Izumi and Momo lay side by side in the field near the academy, gazing up at the stars. Izumi took a deep breath, feeling the cool air of the evening wash over her. "Do you think they'll be okay?" she asked quietly, her voice filled with love and concern. Momo turned to her, her eyes twinkling with an almost mischievous glint. "They'll be more than okay. They have all the lessons you taught them, the courage you showed them. They'll build a world better than the one we left behind." Izumi nodded, a small smile on her face. "You're right." In that moment, they knew that their work had been completed. They had shaped the future, and now it was time for others to carry the flame they had lit. And even though their own journeys were coming to an end, their legacy would continue to live on in the hearts and actions of those they had inspired. Izumi and Momo held each other's hands, feeling the warmth of the bond they shared, knowing that they had created something that would last forever, something that no storm, no power, no force could ever extinguish. And so, as the stars twinkled above them, they closed their eyes one final time, content, knowing their love and the world they had built would shine on for eternity. Their story had come full circle, but the love they had shared would echo through the ages, a light that would never fade. As the night stretched on, the world around them seemed to hold its breath, as if acknowledging the legacy that had been left behind. The stars above flickered brightly, their light a reminder that even in the darkest times, there had always been hope, hope that Izumi and Momo had ignited. Their story, filled with heroism, sacrifice, love, and triumph, had touched so many lives, and now, as their time together slowly came to an end, the world was ready to carry on. The two women, hand in hand, rested peacefully, the sound of their breaths in sync as the world around them continued to grow. They had built something everlasting, a foundation that would outlast them, a legacy that would inspire generations to come. And though they had come to the end of their journey, they knew deep within their hearts that their love and their actions would always live on. And so, the stars above whispered their names, a final tribute to the great love they had shared, the world they had saved, and the lives they had touched. And with that, the story comes to an end, for now. Thank you for watching. I hope you enjoyed this first part of the story, filled with love, sacrifice, and the incredible journey of Izumi Midoriya and Momo Yaoyorozu. Don't forget to like and subscribe for more stories, and stay tuned for the next part where new challenges, new heroes, and new adventures await. Until next time, stay strong, stay inspired, and keep dreaming big.